to have a homeless impact fee. I found the money, you can get it. Secondly, I am here today also regarding the homeless. I was walking my dog this morning at 7:45 in the morning when I was accosted, and the reason I wasn't here is because I was having chest pains. I was accosted by a homeless man, breaking his shirt, yelling at me, and telling me how he was going to destroy my dog and I with his bare hands. There are 2 phone calls to 911 between 8 and 8:15 this morning. I was right here in front of City Hall. I do not deserve that living here in the city of Miami. As a 54-year-old woman working for One Sotheby's, I should be able to walk to the park safely without having someone tell me that they are going to kill me, that they are going to F me up and destroy me, as I had to run across 4 lanes of highway to get away from this man. So raise your hand if you think that's a fair way to live in the city of Miami.
Ma'am, please address the...
Thank you. Joe, do you think that's fair for me to live in the city like this? Or do you think a homeless impact fee may help the situation where we can find a solution?
Commissioner Carroll, you're recognized.
Look, let me be as straight with you as I
Without
possibly
political
can.
posturing, please.
No,
Thank you.
There's no political posturing here, not unless that's what you've done. Of course it's not acceptable, but this is just the point that I've been making, so thank you for making it for me. The problem that we have in Miami is not a homeless problem per se. It's a drug addiction problem that has caused a lot of mental problems in people like that. Whoever came at you clearly was on drugs. And look, I've seen this already so many times throughout our parks and throughout our city. Most, not all, of the homeless population that we have out there are out there because they're addicted to drugs, whether it's one kind or another. Many have mental problems because they've been burned out, checked out because of drugs. And this is what we're trying to solve in the most humane way, because this is a problem that unfortunately was created by our federal government, and I'm talking Republican, Democrats, whoever has been in the White House for decades. They'd let our country be invaded by drugs. It's worse than ever now.
Yes.
And this is the outcome of it, what we're seeing across America. Not just Miami. Now, the problem we have in Miami is that at least half or more of the homeless population we have out there has come from other states, other parts of the world to us. But some are very nice people, but some can get real violent. And I'm going to tell you more. We have observed, and I certainly saw that Sunday, this weekend when I was out, that a lot of the men that are homeless in parks are carrying knives. Legal knives, I'll say this, at least the ones that I saw, but nevertheless, they could hurt you real bad, being legal knives too, once they're open up, and they're 3 to 4 inches long. So what has happened to you is not shocking for me to hear, because it's happened to others, and it's going to keep on happening unless we take severe action.
Well,
And that severe action includes being compassionate. It includes being as gentle as we can with people. It has to include a lot of mental issue help that we need to bring, and a lot of drug addiction help that we need to bring for these people. But we cannot resolve the homeless problem ever in our city if we keep allowing people to come from all kinds of other parts of our country or from other countries to Miami.
Well, I can tell you that I do know with Judge Barbara Labora, who I've worked with on the Lotus House, that her drug-free program does work. I know it's not easy, but her program does work. And I think you should look into that because they have to go through the court system. They have to be drug-free, and I'm sure you can look into that with Constance. Again, thank you for letting me speak. I'm sorry I didn't come earlier, but I physically could not because of what happened to me. I thought I was having chest palpitations.
Well, that's understandable, and I am very sorry what's happened to you too. And this is why we're taking this problem head on, because we don't want this problem to keep repeating itself to women like you or to even men in our city or to children in our
Just
city.
think of possibly thinking of a homeless impact fee with the developers.
look-
I know it's something touchy for you, but just think about it. You have a whole finance program that can create a chart.
Thank you, Ms. Savage.
I'm willing to look at anything that would make sense, and I'm not going to shut the whole door on your suggestion. But what I don't want to do is to create more expenses for people that can't even get into apartments nowadays, because that money that the developers are going to have to pay for any kind of impact fee like that, they're going to be putting it in the rent that people pay each month. Now, I'm not saying no. I'll look at any possible suggestion and look at numbers to see how we can make something work. But what I am not going to keep on doing is keep throwing money into the huge business of so-called homelessness, so that a lot of people keep getting the gravy train, keep getting higher salaries than the ones they had before, because homelessness is a business to some. And that's an issue with me.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Savage. Would you mind going to my office, please? It's just in the back left corner of the building.
Okay, I have to show a house at 5.
It's 4:20, but I just want to make sure they've got your information and you're in touch with our commander for the area where this happened, so that they're very much aware. I want to make sure it's at the commander's level.
Albertico knows me.
But have you reported this in a way that they
I
can take
reported
action?
it on video camera.
All right, if you're
at noon
satisfied,
today.
because I don't want anyone else to go through what you went through this morning.
Right, I understand.
All right.
They
Thank you
have
for
it all.
coming.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry what happened to you, George.
Agreed.
I really am.
Could I get a motion on PI4, please? This is the pocket item regarding urging regulatory agencies to take action on the the silting in the bay.
Second.
Thank you. Moved by Commissioner Reyes, seconded by Commissioner Carollo. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Could we look at the CA and PH agendas? That's CA 1 through 7 and PH 1 through 6. Is there a motion on those?
Okay, hold on. CA 1.
I'm sorry, CA 2 is a 4/5. We cannot take that one up. But it's the CA agenda and the PH agenda, other than the
PA.
4/5 item.
And the P,
H. So-
H,
Yep.
okay. Okay. This PH1, the Emergency Rental Assistance Program funds,
Yes, sir.
can it be explained to me a little in more detail?
Mr. Mensah?
Good afternoon, Commissioner. My name is George Mensah, the Director of Department of Housing and Community Development. The PH1 agenda is the allocation and approval of the programs for the ERA2 program. The city received about $22 million from the Treasury. We already have in our coffers about $9 million. So the this allocation, we received $9 million, and we are allocating the $9 million to the various categories. And I can list the categories the commissioners want. So what we'll do is that will be able to move over to the program. We already have, as of yesterday, completed the entire ERA1 funds. So we have been able to finish spending all the monies. So if there are any questions, I'll be able to
Yes,
answer.
how much money is in the total pot?
Let me give you the exact amount. Okay, the exact amount is $22.7 million, and we've already received $9.1 million.
Who receives 1.9?
$9.1 million has been received in the city's financial system.
Okay, so 9.2.
Yes.
9.2, but the total was 27, right?
No, the total is 22.7,
22.7.
and we received 40%, which is 9.1 million.
That's what are we going to get on hand?
We have it in our hands.
We have it in our hands.
Yes.
And the only thing that we have to do is accept them.
Accept them and then
Approve.
distribute them, and then the rest, we cannot get it until we spend the first batch.
Yes. As we spend this one, once we spend this one, there's some more coming.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion on the CA and PH agenda?
Yeah,
Moved
there
by
is a motion, there's a second.
Commissioner Reyes is the mover, Commissioner Correa the second. Is there any further discussion from the dais?
Nope.
And this is for all of them except for CA2.
Yes.
We have 4. So would you like to include CA2 in your motion, Commissioner Reyes?
Yes, now we can,
We do have 4 now.
that's right.
I don't mind at all.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's the entire CA and PH agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes on CA 1 through 7, as well as PH 1 through 6.
Okay.
REs, let's see if we can take the easy ones.
They're all easy.
Okay.
RE 1 through 3, is there a motion for parking surcharge, the FEMA USAR monies, as well as the Securing Cities program?
Parking surcharge?
RE 1 through 3.
Art,
This is the
did
consulting
you
services.
work a better deal for us? Okay, I'll go on that trust.
So is there a motion for RE 1, 2, and 3?
So
Yes.
move.
Moved by Commissioner Watson, seconded by Commissioner Carollo. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And Chair, just for the record, RE1 had a substitution for backup documents, not for the legislation. It doesn't amend the legislation, just backup documents.
Thank you. Commissioner Carollo, did you want to take up your RE4 and SR2 at this point, or once
Yeah.
we have a full day?
Let me see if these guys are ready, because I have a little show for you guys. I actually probably had more interaction with homeless than 95% of the people that we heard from today here, on both sides. Are they ready? Okay. If our IT people are ready, if you could begin. Commissioner Reyes,
Did you want to start it off by moving an item?
I was just wondering if RE8 was,
We have not passed it yet.
okay.
can I move it before the,
RE8, sure. Yeah.
There is a motion by Commissioner Reyes for RE8, seconded by Commissioner Carollo. Is there any further discussion on the dais regarding E RE8?
RE8, we're all going to give our input to the city attorney, right?
You guys don't see it?
no, which one?
This is RE8, the police chief. and
We all,
fire
we
chief.
all, we all will give input to the city attorney.
Okay.
The thing is, just directing her to present it, bring it so we can discuss
Yeah,
it
yeah.
before, 90 days before the election.
We got time.
Yes, sir.
So
But,
maybe if we could instruct her to bring her sometime after the first of the year. so
That's
we
right,
could have a
90
nice
days before
Christmas.
the next election.
Yeah, okay.
90 days
right.
before the next election,
All right.
All right.
okay?
So move.
It's been moved by,
18?
I'm sorry, I think it was moved by Commissioner Reyes.
And also-
Seconded by Commissioner Carollo.
Also, can I
RE9?
include RE9?
8.
Yeah,
You want both items
That's
in the
right,
same motion?
RE9.
yeah.
That's fine.
Those funds are your dollars, right?
Yes, sir, that's,
Okay.
it's 4 homes that are, single-family homes that we are going to.
Move
Yeah,
10.
but I'm saying that you're not taking from me. It's
No,
yours.
sir, I tried very hard, but you are very careful with your funds, you know?
All right, Commissioner Reyes,
I second.
Commissioner Watson would like you to include RE10 if that's all right.
Absolutely,
All right,
absolutely.
And the seconder
right.
as well?
Yes, RE8, 9, and 10.
9 and 10, is there any
So
further
we get rid
discussion?
of the REs.
All right, Commissioner, on RE8, I will support you on this one. I want to see what comes back. Obviously, the committee concept I want to see how it works.
Yes.
And
Well,
who makes
you-
the end decision? is the
You
important
could
part.
give the city attorney your input too, and
That's right. He will get it. I will get it. We'll do it. Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes on RE8, 9, and 10. And just to clean up the rest of the REs other than Commissioner, could we do RE7 as well? Is there a motion
Sure,
for
the
RE7?
motion.
Move it.
Motion by Commissioner Carollo, second by Commissioner Reyes. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
RE5, was that,
That was deferred till
Deferred.
November 18th.
Okay.
okay, and then we only have
Within the RE agenda, the only thing left is the Adopt a Homeless Person Assistance Program.
RE4, and then we have
SR2, if you like, as well.
SR2. Let's do them both together because they're both sort of hand in hand.
There's a motion by Commissioner Carollo for RE4 and SR2. Is there a second?
RE4. I just want to add to the encampment of public safety, of the of public property. I believe that I do believe that we have to make, a move. We have to make some decisions. What has been done doesn't work, and but I want to propose an amendment that we will not. This will not take an effect until we have a location that will be where the homeless can come and we can take them. And
Well,
I'm proposing.
that portion of it.
Okay, that portion, and
That portion.
what I'm going to try to propose, what I'm proposing, it is that we will have a place that would provide with bathrooms, showers, and the facilities, all the facilities that they will need. You see, one of the biggest problems that we have in downtown and we have all around is that those people, the people that are on the streets, they defecate and they urinate whatever they can. And since there is not, according to the law, as I will say, since they don't have a bathroom near or close or some places, there's no consequences. To that effect, at DTA, we are proposing 5 different bathrooms. 3 that we have the assistance and the help from everybody, and 2 additional that Omni is going to finance, the Omni CRA. So I would like to have a resource center where we can direct the homeless before we enact this.
But Commissioner, we do have the resource center
Where is it?
that we've been paying for. The Homeless Trust is a resource center.
No, what I'm saying is, if we don't want it on the street, because I say that I cannot encamp in the street, we can direct them and say, we have these places, just like we have for feeding.
Well,
That we have to identify.
But this is exactly what we're saying in this ordinance. What we're saying in the ordinance is that you cannot do this, you cannot be camping out anywhere you want to, and we have instructed the manager to find 1 or more locations
Okay.
within the city that they can go. Now, those locations are going to have much better facilities than they have now,
Absolutely.
that whether it be tents, outdoor patio bathrooms, or what have you, but
What I wanted to say it is, and I agree with you 100%, that the enforcement of this ordinance, we have to have that identified before that. So
well,
we can
Mr.
do
Manager,
that.
have
Okay.
you been able to identify some sites that you can open up? So I want to make sure that we're talking about the same thing.
No, we're talking about the same thing, but I don't want them just to go and try to get them off the street without they having a place, an alternative place that they can go.
But think about this. We're hoping that with all the money, the $7 million plus a year we're giving to Homeless Trust, Camilla's House, others, that there are going to be beds in these places.
Well,
Beyond offering
yes, but also,
Sites.
one thing one reason that I would like this resource center, because by having them in that place, you see, we will be able to bring all the support system that they're supposed to do now with the feeding ordinance, and it's not been done. I have heard many people here, everybody comes and talk about homeless, as if they were a uniform group of people. You see, we have different type of homeless. We have homeless. What I would like to know in that count, how many are homeless because they lost their job? You see, I think it's the minority. And there's a lot of jobs going around, and maybe we can guide them and train them for the jobs, and that's another thing that we can. But there is also the great majority, and as I have found out, they are mentally ill or they are totally addicted. You see, addicted. We pay for many beds at Camilo's house, and we pay for, I don't know how many beds, but most of the time they're empty, because as the police goes around, and in particular in downtown, they offer them shelter to go to and sleep in those beds. They are rejected, you see. So I would like to take the opportunity that when we have them in that resource center, that we can bring also the support system and try to get them into rehab and all of that, capture them. You understand what I'm trying to say, Mr. Chair?
You're singing my song. The problem with moving, even the heat team trying to move people, if you don't have somewhere for them to go, you're just shuffling them around and causing even more disturbance. And what I'm getting reports of is neighbors feeling that there's new homeless in their neighborhood. Homeless is going up. The homeless just came from the neighborhood where the cleanup happened down the street. Because if there's no shelter space for them,
well,
there's no place for them to go.
But shelter, when we talk about shelter, we have to understand that it goes two to tango. It is for the shelter to be here and for the homeless to accept them.
Yep.
Well, see, that's not happening.
So let me just clarify where we are. Commissioner Carollo has made a motion. He does not yet have a second. Commissioner Reyes has requested an
I
amendment.
will second without
Condition of the amendment?
with a commissioner. We're
in the discussion. If I could go back.
That's fine.
To show what I want to do, if I could show the video that I have, and then let's go.
Then we'll see if we have your second.
Then let's return to this.
All right, so then the motion is just withdrawn for the moment. We're going to have discussion, show the video, and then you'll reintroduce the motion.
That's correct.
All right, that's fine. You have the floor.
Okay, before you start rolling, can you put the voice so you could hear? You homeless out here? Good, my name's Joe Carollo. Are you homeless out here now? Where are you from? Michigan. Can we help you with going to a shelter, getting you some space there where you could be helped at and have a roof over your head?
Nah, because I'm getting ready to go, I think, to Tennessee.
So. Oh, you're moving out to Tennessee?
Yeah.
How long you been down here?
I've been down here 2 years.
2 years. Where are you from?
I'm from here originally, in Chicago.
Excuse me?
I come back from Chicago to here.
From Chicago to here, you come back? Yeah, well, would you like to be able to go to a shelter?
Yes.
Okay. How are you, sir? Are you homeless, sir? Sir? Yes. Is there any way that we could help you go to a shelter? Sir?
I'm all right.
You're all right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, where are you from?
I'm African.
Excuse me?
African.
I'm Joe Carollo. How you doing today?
All right.
Good. Are you homeless, sir?
No, I'm all right.
Huh?
I'm good.
Okay, are you from Miami or where are you from?
Right here in Miami.
Right here in Miami? Okay, but you seem to be homeless. Can we help you?
No, I'm all right, sir.
You sure?
Yes, sir.
We could help you with a shelter.
Well, they tell you that last time?
Excuse me?
Last officer came and said the same thing. I told him no, I'm straight. And they've been on about the business.
I'm not an officer, sir. I'm not a police officer. But I just want to see if we could help you. It might be rain today. You'll be out here in the elements. They'll get you warm food there, a place to sleep, roof over your head.
I know all that. I know about all that. But I'm good.
My name's Joe Carolio. How you doing? Just wondering if you wanted to go to a shelter. Okay. Where are you from?
I live mine.
From Miami? Looks like there might be rain today. You get all wet out here. We could get a roof over your head, a bed, warm food.
I've been in the shelter before.
And what's the problem with the shelter? You don't want to go
I
there.
just don't want to go there right now. I'm getting ready to leave anyway.
Okay. Where are you heading to?
Georgia.
Georgia.
Get my family down.
Okay. How long you been homeless, sir?
Since like 2015.
2015.
Okay, right now.
Sir?
I'm okay right now.
You're okay? Okay, how long have you been homeless for? Excuse me, a couple of years? Okay, and you said you're from Miami? What part of Miami? Excuse me? Huh? Hialeah. Okay. All right, well, if you change your mind on the shelter, any of the workers that we have in the park, please let them know that you spoke to me and you like the shelter. Okay? If you're homeless, to help you maybe go to a shelter, get you a roof over your head, get you a place to sleep, get you some food.
I actually have money and I need access to my bank account. So technically, I don't need to be in a situation like this. So.
Seems you're homeless. Are you homeless, sir?
Yeah, I'm in the streets, huh?
Okay, where are you from?
New York.
New York? Okay, can we help you get into a shelter where you have a roof over your head and a bed and some food?
I'm trying to get back to New York. I just been caught up between cycles, law and people.
How long you been down here?
Not too long. I just recently got out trying to get back to work.
Okay, you sure you don't want us to help you with a shelter?
No shelter, no shelter.
Okay, God bless you, sir.
All right.
Can we help you on, we're here, my name is Joe Carollo, and I want to see if you would like to go to a shelter where you could have a bed and you could have some warm food.
Nice to meet you. I read a lot about you. Okay. Yeah. We're okay. We expected to go to our friend's house.
Okay?
He's going to let us stay with
Well,
him
good.
a couple of
Good.
days.
Good. Okay. Are you from Miami or where are you from?
Actually, I'm from New York.
New York.
Yeah, but I've been here a couple of years already
Okay, you've been here a couple of years. Okay.
in Miami.
Well, if it doesn't work out with your friend, which I hope he does, if you see any of our workers across the street in the park, tell them that I spoke to you and that you'd like to go to a shelter. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, sorry. How are you, sir? Good. I'm Joe Carollo. I'm sorry to startle you. Wanted to see if we could be of help to you. If you needed a shelter to go to, it looks like it's going to rain. And if you wanted to go to a shelter, get a bed, get some food. Huh? No? Where are you from?
Nassau Bahamas.
Huh?
Nassau Bahamas.
Where?
Nassau Bahamas.
Bahamas. I'm Joe Carollo. How you doing? Yeah. Doing good? Good.
All right.
Good. You're homeless?
Yeah.
Okay. Where are you from?
Miami.
Miami. Okay. How long you been homeless for?
A few years.
Okay. Well, can we help you go to a shelter, have roof over your head? It's going to rain today. Get some food in you.
No, I'm working something else different. I have a justice case.
But in the meantime, you're out in the street. You know, rain is falling on you, the elements. What can we do to help you in the meantime?
Well, basically it's waiting for the case to develop in court.
We could change your mind, or you change your mind at any point. Let us know, and we'll be happy to help you go into a shelter, be able to get food, and hopefully they could get you a job.
All right. Appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, Chief.
Take care.
You too.
I'm here today to see if we can help individuals like you go to a shelter, be able to get a roof over your head and food. And where are you from?
Miami.
You're from Miami?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you be interested in going to a shelter?
No, I don't think so.
Why is that?
I've been to one of them.
What's the problem with them?
You couldn't find no place to stay in the end.
Excuse me?
Couldn't find a place to stay in the end.
You couldn't find a place to stay in it?
Yeah. No place to stay when I got ready to get out of the shelter.
Okay, so you couldn't find a place to stay after the shelter. But, well, if we could put you back in the shelter, would that help you or not?
Yes, sir.
Or would you like for us to send someone and try to get you into a shelter?
When?
Well, as soon as we can, maybe right today. Would you like that? We'll be happy to do that for you. How long have you been homeless?
Long time.
Sir?
Long time.
Long time? Yeah. We could help you in any way. Are you from Miami?
Yeah,
Where are you from?
over there on the beaches.
Where?
Over on the beaches,
On the beaches? Yeah, but where are you from originally?
beside the water.
Yeah,
Miami.
From Miami. Okay, so you were born in Miami. Okay. Well, you look to be homeless, sir.
I don't know what you're gonna do though.
Well, we'd like to help you and offer you shelter with food and a bed to sleep.
I'm going back over there. Hold on.
Well, why don't you like being in a shelter?
I don't want to do that.
I got a Port of Miami,
Yeah.
so I gotta get out of the shelter for 5 o'clock to go to work. I can't make it later.
You got to work at what time? At 5?
I gotta go to work at 5.
Okay. Well, it's good. It's good that you have a job. I'm glad.
Yeah,
So
I'm trying to get some money to rent a place.
Tengo dos amigos míos que el amigo mío llegó de Perú hace un mes y no tiene casa, o sea, está en la calle.
Lleva hace un mes de Perú.
Y necesita que lo ayuden. Un señor que anda también junto conmigo, estamos juntos.
¿Y usted de dónde es?
Yo soy puertorriqueño.
Puertorriqueño.
Sí,
¿Está homeless también ahora?
sí, estoy en la calle también.
Bien, pero ¿de dónde estabas viviendo? ¿De dónde viniste para acá?
Yo vine de Puerto Rico hace 3 años.
Es peruano, ¿no?
Sí, ¿cómo sabes?
¿Qué tiempo lleva acá?
4 días.
4 días.
Ya. Yo estaba en Jacksonville.
Estaba
el
en
año pasado.
Jacksonville.
Puedo hablar libremente, yo sé que están grabando.
Sí,
Hay
sí,
un
no,
filme
pero-
que yo soy asesor gastronómico también. El señor tiene su profesión, el señor tiene
Señor,
su
¿cómo
historia.
está? ¿De dónde está, señor? Puerto Rico. ¿Qué tiempo lleva en Miami? A Monday?
Ya lleva más o menos.
Ya, ellos llevan un poquito aquí.
You don't have any place to stay.
Microphone?
It is bad. And everybody knows that. I mean, everybody that's driving around. Could you please come to the mic?
William Porro, Director of Human Services. Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. Had you identified places that we can provide the facilities for these people that are now on the street and they are camping there to go into that location and be able to stay there?
We've
I mean,
talked about,
they're not going to be confined there. They can go out and all of that, but they cannot camp on the street. And that's one thing that I want everybody to know.
we've
It's not-
talked about a couple of locations there in the city. We need to delve in it more in terms of costs and things like that. But yes, I think we're on the same page. But if I can say, commissioners, I think to part of the solution to the problem, and I believe that there's a lot right now that's going on to amplify, to expand this continuum of care that we all struggle with, is that it's not just about shelter. We can get them off the streets, and we have the beds. COVID has thrown a wrench in the whole thing. But more importantly, on the other side of that spectrum is affordable housing, or this supportive housing, let's better call it.
You're talking about long-term housing?
Yes, treatment beds. There's
yes.
all of the, if we can somehow, commissioners, expand a little bit here, a little bit there, in the short term, I think it's going to be much more beneficial than just trying to put everybody in shelters, for example.
Absolutely. But do you agree with me that now that if we get them out of the street, you see, and we need a place that they could go, and we're going to use that place as a resource center that we can capture and try to provide, treatment. Some of them will not like treatment.
Absolutely.
I mean, they will. I have a lot of faith on Judge Lyman
I agree.
initiative. I do have a lot of faith. But meanwhile, until Judge Lyman is not ready to go, if we can get them, you see, they can go to a place that they have facilities, and there's no excuse then to be defecating in the streets, because we're going to have bathrooms all over downtown. We're going to have a facility where they can go and do what they need to do, and they even can take a shower. Are we capable of providing those services?
Yes, I've gotten quotes already in the short term to do,
How soon before this is going to
Well-
pass? If this passes, how soon can
For
you?
example, in terms of the feeding ordinance, for example, if we were to supply bathrooms, I can supply 10 bathrooms, 10 washing stations in all 5 lots.
Okay.
Literally within a week or two. I mean,
Okay,
there's a cost to doing that and maintaining it, and then if I can be frank, I don't know if that's going to solve the issue in terms of just bringing more homeless to the area. I don't know.
I'm a firm believer, and I'm sorry to say this, that we will never end homelessness. It's a choice that some people make. You just saw it. It's a choice some people make it, and we had it. We had it since I remember. Since the Hobos, you see, we had people that they don't want any responsibility and they'd rather live like that. But what I want to do is, and also everything got worse when the Supreme Court, ruled that we have to, nobody have to be in an institution. You see, against the will, and they open up Bellevue, all the mental institutions, they open it up, and people didn't have any place to go but to the streets.
Well, if I can share as well, COVID has thrown a wrench in it, because before, when we had the 10 overnight beds, all of a sudden, no treatment center will take somebody off the street, just without being tested, because they'll infect the entire place. So I'm looking at rapid tests so we can get into Camilla's house.
In your opinion, taking this measure, plus providing them with a place to go that could be a resource center, that they could be captured by, professionals that are like psychologists, and also I think that they could be even treated there, because some of them are on the medication, and make sure that they take the medication and all of that. That could help a lot, right?
I agree. If I can share as well, today a couple of times somebody mentioned something about Finland. I went online as of August 21st, Finland had 4,800 people on the streets with a population of 5 million.
Yes.
We have countywide 900.
Correction, they still have 4,120.
They
I
do,
just saw
yes.
it. Just
And actually, there's a group of those that they categorize as living with friends and relatives.
Yes.
So,
That's the Adopt a Home Finish program.
yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, so you're going to provide the facilities and everything for and at the locations that you're going to determine.
I will work with the administration to do exactly that.
Mr.
but,
City Manager, are you going to be working with them, trying to provide a resource center so they cannot camp in the street anymore? If they pass this, they won't be able to camp in the street. They have to go to some place. You going to provide those places that they can direct or we can direct them to?
Yeah, Mr. Poro's already been working on a budget, a sort of a comprehensive budget in terms of facilities. For us, it's just identifying 1 or 2 locations, and then sort of transition that long-term into a long-term plan, which is some of the other stuff that we've been working on with the American Rescue Plan money as well.
Okay.
So we have sort of a comprehensive plan that we're going to work on. It's some of it's short-term, and then there's really a long-term.
In other words, this is not just an ordinance that is going to be, you got to get out of the street and that's it.
Absolutely
It
not.
has a comprehensive plan behind it.
I think this is the perfect time with the American Rescue Plan Daughters to see how we can intelligently
Okay.
look at the things that are already
Okay,
there
I'm
that we
willing to
can
give it a
leverage.
try.
Yes, sir.
I'm willing to
Mr.
give it a try. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, let me ask you a question. Mr. Pearl, what's that comprehensive plan look like? Because clearly, there's some really elements to the resolution that should include some things that we should know about.
Yep.
That's going to give credence to what we're talking about at this point and give people an understanding that what we're doing is something that we're not getting into the business, because I spoke to Mr. Collins earlier, we're not getting into the business because we don't have the capacity to do that. But we do have the capacity to bring these partners together and ensure that they, in effect, also help out. 2 instances that I will talk about because I saw the tape, but I can tell you in the last 7 days, and now just 2 hours ago, right? 4 people. 1 mother with a family of 4 daughters, on the verge of now not being in a spot, in a home. Okay? 1 family, and yet she feeds a homeless person sitting in the front of a MLK building that probably should have been fixed up, but has not been. And yet it was painted a week before signs went up, right? This is someone who lives in public housing feeding someone that lives outside. There's also a family who've moved a single mother and 3 kids into their home. They're in public housing. And another who I talked to on yesterday who moved a single mother and a family of 4. I'm not talking about people taking in a person, taking in families. So it's real.
Absolutely.
And so from that perspective, we don't want to get into the business, but we want to do a lot to, 1, help city residents, because Miami residents, taxpayers don't want to pay taxes for everybody, particularly people from other parts of the country. And just recently, I looked at a mold-infested building, and once I say something to do something, 7 more families need a place to go, right? And so we're going to have to, Mr. Manager, spend a couple dollars. We're going to also have to now do some of those things, centers and the like, because we can't just do one part of it. We have to do additional parts of it. And that community, we should, at some point, I'll stand to do it, bring them together, because they clearly are not talking together, talking to each other. And there are stakeholders, and they are in the business of homelessness. They are in the business, make no mistake. Some have different business models than others, but they are in the business. But they have to talk to each other, and we have to come together because one of the corporations has been looking to help, 1. 2, Red Rooster asked for help from the CRA to do a daycare program so that they can keep their employees and keep employees who now need to work so that they too won't fall into the category of homelessness, right? And we also, so because people think we don't have compassion, right? We also, in a program that the mayor and I did earlier in the year, we have, on 3 parks in my district, we have childcare services so that people can go to work.
Yes, sir.
And the CRA has a training program. CRA has a training program that allows people to work from the street. We bring them in. So I think that we have to be a little bit more aggressive in partnering, making sure for city residents, and ensuring that all of these guys that now work in the business of homelessness, they in effect come to the table so that it doesn't seem like we're doing a singular action,
Yes, sir.
but doing something that's more comprehensive. We're not going to end it, but we can reduce it. I think I'd also thought maybe we have 300 achievable number, 300 achievable supportive / transitional shelter beds, right? And so we do have to make a financial commitment of some sort, but please come back to us to let us know what that's going to be so that we all can be abreast of a plan, because too often we're now labeled one way that we're not doing. And label is one thing, but saying what you're not doing is not accurate, because the child care program we do at a loss. So we are doing something, and the public should know that part of it as well, because it's easy to take shots at some singular action, but if it's tied to a plan outright, then the entities that are involved can help us, and we can partner with them, and also make Corporate Miami. Corporate Miami has to be a part of this as well. And since some of them do want to be, then we ought to make sure that they are.
I'll work with you, Commissioner.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair?
Thank you. Commissioner Reyes, you're recognized.
Yes, I want to ask this question, and is that that part, that comprehensive plan, I mean, that this ordinance, it is part, has a comprehensive plan included in it that you are going to define as areas where they can receive treatment and they can take a shower, do whatever they want. And also, listening to Commissioner Watson, I believe that you have to incorporate, we saw a lot of people coming through here that they claim that they are assisting the homeless, and then they want the program to keep on going. You see, well, I think this is a good opportunity to everybody. Everybody said, well, let's work together. This is a great opportunity to work together. Where the city of Miami, we are going to keep in some place. We are also are going to provide all the needs that they have in order to be out of the be protected. They're not going to be out of the environment. And they can come, and if they are feeding, or they are providing counseling, or they are providing medicine, well, they can come and work together with you guys.
Absolutely.
Is that possible?
It's possible, sir, if I can work with all of you.
With permission, I mean, I'm going to request from the Commissioner Carollo, can we incorporate that into the order?
Incorporate what?
Incorporate that we are going to, this is part of the comprehensive plan, that it's going to be, that they're going to be out of the streets, and they're going to go into a place that we're going to provide, and in that place will have the resources that they need.
I think we need to talk more, because what I don't want to do, Commissioner, I'll tell you right now, is kill the effect of this. If the votes aren't here, so be it, but I don't want to water this down to a point that it's not going to be effective. Now, if I can, let me go to what I showed here, because I wanted to show that, and I didn't speak so everybody could hear and see it. There was a total of 18 homeless people that you saw in the screen that I spoke to. Out of the 18, let me give you a breakdown. 5 were from another state. 3 New York, 1 Michigan, 1 Illinois. 4 were from a foreign country. One from Africa, one from Antigua, one from the Bahamas, one from Peru. 2 were from the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico. Out of those 11 that were not from here, 2 had just arrived. One said he had arrived 4 days ago from Peru, and the other gentleman said he had arrived here a week ago. That's one of the gentlemen from Puerto Rico. Out of the 7 that claimed they were from Miami-Dade County, 5 said Miami, so I'm putting them down as City of Miami, but not necessarily. 1 from Hialeah. I don't know if we should include that in the out-of-state or in the local, but you guys tell me. And 1 from Miami Beach. Even though from some other statements he made to me off camera, I do believe he was from out of state, but he said Miami Beach, so I'm putting him down as Miami Beach. So you have 11 out of the 18 that are either from out of state or from a foreign country. 5 that could be City of Miami, 1 Hialeah, and 1 Miami Beach. So this shows you that you have a great amount of homeless people. I believe it could be as much as a majority of the people that we have out in the streets that are not from here. It's a problem that's being sent to us from other places. The other areas that I think were observed there was that some of the people that I went to speak to have some very serious mental problems and drug issues. Now, these are 2 areas of services that we have to provide, and I've always mentioned that. Last but not least, the most important part, you saw me asking them, in some cases, almost pleading, to go to a shelter where they would have a roof over their heads, they would have a warm bed, they would have hot meals. They didn't want to go to a shelter. They refused. In fact, the 2 that said that they would go to a shelter, very soon Mr. Porras sent people there. 1 took off right away, and I think there was 1 left, Mr. Porras, right? And he said no, he didn't want to go to the shelter. So that's the essence of the issue, because I keep saying the foundation of the problem that we have out there is not a homeless issue as we thought of homelessness in America before. What we have out there is a problem of addicts. Individuals that have gotten strung out in numerous different drugs, and that's caused mental problems in many of them, and they don't want to go to a shelter for 2 reasons. 1, as one of them told me, they're too strict. In other words, no drugs. You're not going to be able to use drugs in a shelter. And 2, you're not going to be able to acquire and buy drugs in a shelter. And this is the key reason why this huge population of addicts that are homeless don't want to go to a shelter, because they can't get drugs in a shelter. They can't use drugs in a shelter. They want to be out in the streets so they could get strong high, big time, like the lady from District 2 that came here, and the problem that she ran into, that you've all heard. Now, we're looking for compassionate solutions, and we have in the city of Miami. My God, we have spent more money per capita than most cities in America. We have spent tens and tens of millions of dollars in past years. This year's funding alone is over $7 million, and that doesn't include hundreds of thousands of dollars of additional monies that we spend in paramedics, fire, police, and other services that we provide to this population. But the solution is not going to be that we're going to take money from where we have very little to put this population, majority from out of state or out of the country, in front of the line to build houses for them that, for the most part, they don't care to be in it at all. And frankly, in the state of mind that many are in, won't be able to maintain any kind of home like that. So what I try to show in the additional part of the video is what our city in different parts is becoming. What you saw there is worse than third world. I've traveled in my lifetime to dozens and dozens and dozens of countries. I've seen it all. And I will tell you that what we have out there in the countries that we call third world here, you don't see it like that. This is as bad as it gets. And there are people out there, and I'll say it again, that are perfectly content with that because that's how they are going to make a living, get a higher salary. Others, I'm going to use a new word that's been thrown around in many ways. Others have weaponized the homeless against the rest of us, all the other residents of Miami, to use as a weapon against us for their ideological reasons. Now, when I've shown clear videos that you have streets, sidewalks that are being blocked, that individuals cannot go through those sidewalks because they're being blocked, whether by tents, whether by other items. You see the whole line of bicycles in one. Where do you think those bicycles are coming from? Do you really think that they're going them to buy them at Kmart or Walmart? No, they're being stolen from our neighborhoods. That's why, at least before the pandemic, you would see small freight ships come to the port of Miami, and when they leave, they'd have all kinds of bicycles on top. Those were bicycles that were being stolen from our homes and other stuff that were being stolen. This ordinance is very clear. Let me go through some parts of it so that we can be clear in what we're voting on. It will not allow any police officer to take action unless they take certain steps before, including to make sure that there are shelters. Otherwise, they cannot take any steps. But what it's doing, most of all, like you saw in the video that I put there, with piles of garbage being thrown out, is we're going to make sure that all these areas that you saw in that video and others that you didn't see are going to be clean 3 times a week. Because what is happening in these encampments is that they are becoming a real health hazard to the people that are up there sleeping in those tents, in the sidewalk, and to the rest of us, all Miami residents. Those are real health hazards that we have an obligation as a city to clean them up, to protect them and protect us from it. Let me go over, Commissioner. It says the police has tender. It says when a police officer, before they can take any action, the police officer has tendered the written warning required by subsection C1F off and has provided a reasonable time, 2 hours, for the person to pick up his or her belongings and comply with the prohibition. Yet, if the person has not complied, then the police officer has verified that there is available shelter bed for the person, and the person has refused the offer of shelter. Then and only then can a police officer take action. After giving them reasonable warning that we're going to come and clean, they have to move whatever belongings they have there, and we have to provide a shelter for them, know that there is a bed to take them to. Otherwise, they cannot take any actions. Yes.
Can I say a couple of things?
Sure.
You're accusing me of
I'm not accusing anyone of anything.
No, hold on a second. I've been saying of watering. I don't want to water this down. The only thing that I want to do, and I agree with you that we have a huge problem in our hands, and we have a bunch of people here that they are not from the city of Miami. I know that we have people, now that winter comes, we're going to get more from other cold states. The problem is that we're going to clean our streets. I me more than anybody has been always against having people camping on our streets and doing what they're doing. And I don't give that nobody, be a homeless or be a person that is a millionaire, has the right to go in front of a business and defecate in front of the business and do their things in front of the business. Nobody, because if I do it, I will be arrested. You see? And I think that nobody is above the law here. Everybody has to comply with the law, and that's why I ask always the city attorney to make sure to inform the police and inform us what we can do. But we have a reality here. We are moving them from one place, and we tell them, you got to leave. But we are not proposing. What I'm asking is that we have a place that we can tell them, because to build shelters for those people now, you see, I don't think there is enough. We can tell them, and what I'm saying is, you got to move from here. We were not going to accept you to be blocking the street, blocking the sidewalk. I agree with 100%. I don't want to, be jumping over fences when I'm walking downtown. You're going to have a place that you will be able to go. You don't have to, I'm not going to move you from 1st Street to 3rd Street. You see? Because if we don't have a place that we can guide them to, then what we are moving them from one street to the other. And then we are creating a lot of problems.
You are right.
And the only thing,
and I understand that.
And the only thing that I want is to create a place, you see, make sure that we have a place that they can go to that place.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
that's all.
I think in the series of ordinance and resolutions that I have brought, that we have passed some and are in the second reading of some, it's a combination that covers everything. For instance, I think this is clear that we have to take compassionate, humane steps before anything could be done, and we have to find shelter. Otherwise, we're not going to move somebody.
Agree with you.
Now, beyond the shelter, this is why I had the other, I believe it was done in the form of resolution or instruction to the manager, a resolution where we requested of the manager, and I think this is where you're coming in,
Okay.
that we would identify different places that, look, if they didn't want the shelter, if for any reason we have the shelters full, then we could have an additional place where they can go. Now, we will be responsible of providing a bed, providing bathroom facilities. I would include in that mental and drug counseling, or however you want to describe the service that we have to provide. But what we do not have to provide is a five-star hotel service and encampment. This would be that instead of a small tent they're going to be out there, maybe it'll be a nice big tent. Maybe we could even have air conditioning, maybe fans, or maybe we could build something. I mean, I designed stuff that we could have out there in a matter of 3 or 4 days, and it's going to be super comfortable, as strong as any construction that you have here in Miami, and it's not costly at all. So now, I'll tell you what happened. When I mentioned, if you remember, that we have, my God, close to 1,000 acres in Virginia Key, that could be one place that we could have. I know that a lot of my friends, your friends from Key Biscayne, and not near me,
NIMBY.
and this is the problem, that everybody wants to dump their problem in the city of Miami. And we're taking everybody's problem. We can't do that any longer. Look, what I am asking for, that our residents are going to be treated with the same courtesy, professionalism, and the same rights
Yes.
that homeless people are in our streets. Because what's happened here is that we've turned our world upside down. Our residents are the ones that have become second-class citizens. And this is not right in any society. How in the heck can people come here and demand that we provide 500 new housing units, as I've shown you, where the majority of people are not from Miami, they're out of state or out of the country. And then on top of that, yes, as I said before, when we have so many needy people in many of our districts, that, hey, they would love to give up and say, the heck with it, you know, why should I be doing 2 jobs? Why should I be having to sacrifice so much just to put a roof over the heads of my kids in Little Havana or Norristown or Little Haiti or Liberty City or Alapata or Flagami, if now all I got to do is say, I'm homeless, I'm going to go in the street, and I'm the one that's going to the front of the bus, and I'm going to be given a brand new place. You know, Camilla's house, somebody here, I think, or I received a call from Camilla's house. Now, that's the brothers of whatever they are, the Shepherd, or they're from another state, by the way, that came in here. Well, I remember when I was a kid commissioner in my early 20s, I had that priest that ran Camilla's house, and he sat down with me, and he said, you know, I control over 1,000 votes for these homeless. So if you want to be reelected in the future, this is what you got to do and play with me. And I did not respond to him as the altar boy that I once was. I think that's part of the reason many years ago he was finally taken out, and for more things. And yes, I keep saying it, this has become a major business. And you hear the only solution that all these people are giving you is, you got to bring more millions of dollars, more millions of dollars. Yeah, so they could get more millions of dollars in their hands. But what about the rest of our people? What about the need? I mean, I'd like for some of these television cameras to go with me through Little Havana and see how a lot of the people live and the rents they're paying for the places they're living in. They could have given up, go to the streets, but they haven't. You know, go see Commissioner Watson. He'll take you through Liberty City, Little Haiti, Overtown. Commissioner Diaz-Portilla can take you through Alapata. And there are sections, Flag Avenue, the Commissioner Reyes can take you. And even Commissioner Russell, that lives in the most expensive district, affordable district in Miami, he could take you to a few places in the West Grove that would meet the criteria that I'm talking about. It is not right that all the attention, all the money is being demanded for individuals that the main problem they have is that they're addicted to drugs. Now, I'm not saying that every homeless out there is like that. The guys that I ran that had just come in, one from Puerto Rico a week before, and the Peruvian guy, those are different stories. But the videotapes that I showed you, me interviewing them, those images didn't lie. You see the problems that many of these people have. And again, what happened to this lady is going to happen more and more again. And I'm going to say something more. What really concerned me when I went out this weekend to get those interviews was the fact of how many of the homeless that we have out there are carrying knives for self-protection. And I don't know how many incidents we've had, but I know we've had quite a few of homeless attacking homeless and homeless attacking our residents, like the lady that was here today. So, Commissioner, I put something here that I think is lays a good foundation to work from. And we know this is not going to be the whole solution, but at least we're taking the steps that none of these people cared before until we brought this up.
Yes, sir. And as you remember, we've been talking about this for a long time.
Yeah, we have.
And we've been talking about something got to be done. And I agree that we should try to get them out of the street because our residents, they have rights too. But what I'm saying is that we need not to move the problem to another place.
No.
That what we have to do is to have places that they can go and also support that they can get. Why? Because amongst those, and I'm going to talk with a clear conscience, among those that they are, unfortunately, they are addicted, there be some that could be recaptured and could be saved.
There are very small percentage.
Very small, but there is a percentage. Yeah. One is enough. And also I'm going to tell you this. As I said when I first started speaking, I believe that the majority, the great majority of the homeless are not because of economic reasons.
That is correct. That's what I've been saying.
And if we get it, I mean, we try to provide them. I mean, we're going to get them out of the street. We need a place that they can go.
Yeah, but let me tell you what's going to happen.
Okay. No. I know what you're going to say. You're going to say that, well, they are just going to go and they're not going to go into the place.
No. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. What I am going to say is that once that population that are not economic homeless, as you stated, and this is what I was saying before, that are homeless for drug addiction, understand that they're not going to be able to move from one part of the city to the other because we're going to apply the law equal in any part of the
They
city.
can leave the city.
They're going to leave the city of Miami, and most likely, they're going to go to another part of Florida that's warm, or they're going to go back to whatever state they came from.
Yes, but
But they're not going to be in the city of Miami, where we're spending our money for people that are not from here. I mean, some of the statements that you heard from the people that I interviewed, when I asked them, how long you been here? Some were telling me 2 years, 3 years. Well, where are all these programs that I've been told, and this group and that group and the other? Because these people have been recycled during all these years here.
Well, I don't think there is any problem, as you stated before, to give a directive to the city manager to find a location, and as you stated,
We had done that before, it's a resolution.
there's a resolution.
So that works hand in hand with whatever else we got here.
Apply that resolution, and I don't think that gonna need much time to find a place and get it ready.
Looking at, I'll help you find people
Thank
that
you, sir.
maybe will donate sufficient tents or coverings that would meet our requirements. The good thing is that now we're going out of the hurricane season, so we're going to have a whole 6 months soon, no hurricanes, so we could gear up for this. It's not like, we're in the middle of the hurricane season.
Correct.
But, Mr. Manager, Virginia Key, and I know I'm going to get a lot of my friends that are ticked off at me again. That's a place that we have a lot of room, that we could put a lot of services there. We could put trailers for mental health professionals that we could bring. We can, bring trailers that would have medical facilities, others for drug addiction, and I don't think that if what we're being told by some that this is what they want, well, here's exactly what we're doing. But I submit to you that you're going to have a huge part of this population that no matter what we offer them, they don't want it because they've been checked out already. They're burned out with the drugs. All they want to do is be in the streets, buying drugs, using drugs, with nobody telling them that they can use them. That's why in all these places that we want to clean up 3 times a week, you see all the syringes from them shooting up.
Absolutely.
How many of them throughout the past years have we found dead out in our streets? Or from some of the other drugs that that wonderful country of communist China is sending to us to destroy us so they'll never have to fight a war with us, a real war, so they could destroy us with drugs like they're doing. And you see it across America. What you're seeing out there are not economic homelessness. This is not FDR's depression that he went out to help real homeless people for economic reasons. This is a different type of homeless that we have out in the streets now. And it's a very challenging one because you got people there that are schizophrenic, bipolar, all kinds of mental issues that derive of their drug usage, and they're addicts. That's all they care about, getting their next shot, getting their next high.
I will add to that. I was talking to an expert the other day, and something that really scared me is that it is, could be a lot, but could be a few sexual predators that they have been labeled sexual predators. They cannot leave, establish themselves close to school or very difficult for them to find housing, that they are among the homeless population. Do we have the resources to identify or go out and try to identify that population so we can get rid of them?
Well, I think that I can get back to you on the specific process, but that is looked at now, if I'm not mistaken. And I could be wrong, but there's providers here. No one can go into a shelter at a level 2. In other words, if they are found that they have something in their background like that, they can't be
But that
accepted to a shelter.
that could be some of the ones that they refuse shelter because of that.
It's
You
possible.
see, it is possible because it amazes me that you are on there's going to come a big storm and you're offered shelter and you refuse it. It is either because you do have a serious mental illness or because there's some problem there. And I would like for you guys to make an effort to try to identify it, because if that is true, it's very dangerous. That's very dangerous for our population. And Mr. Carollo, I have seen, you have seen in the news some of those probably, I don't know if they are under the influence of drug or they are because of mental illness, that they they have to jump and started beating people without any provocations. And I'm afraid because I have family and I have people that are a lot of, my district, we have a lot of elders. A lot of elderly people. That senior population is very fragile, you see, and could be hurt by that.
You're
Okay,
absolutely correct.
if and I think that we have talked about this a lot. You are gonna be doing the finding out you might call it shelter, or you can call it whatever.
We've instructed the manager already through a
Okay.
resolution to do that. And if you want, you could incorporate a resolution as
Let's
part of this ordinance.
let's incorporate that resolution as part of this ordinance. And also, please invite everyone that has a program or that provides assistance to the homeless to go to those places and bring their expertise and see how many we can save. Okay?
Commissioner Watson.
Yeah, let me just say that I think that save two things. One, and I don't think any of us, I'm not interested in maybe watering down, as you say, their proposal. But I think what I at least like to see happen is people understand that we are trying to address the issue as opposed to avoid the problem, one. And two, most importantly, not see what we're doing get lost in somebody else's description of trying to change the narrative. What I can tell you in working with the CRA, and we've had probably a little bit more than success in this sense, I was stopped in doing some things that I thought and Commander Joseph thought would be helpful, simply because it does cost our police department more because we're not in sync. Why are we not in sync? Federal programs for housing are not in sync with people who are homeless. They're just not. And so a lot of what the financial help that can be used can't really be accessed by the providers, service providers, or what have you. It's just really screwed up, and so we have to work on that front. Two, we're not in sync locally. They'll go out and spend probably, I don't know, Chief's, around 4 hours on average if they take somebody in, and our judiciary will let them out an hour later. And so it gets to be kind of crazy. And I think that's why it's important to have something not singular, but comprehensive, because hopefully we now get a chance to do what we're trying to do, which is help / move, reduce the homeless on the street, as opposed to now the cycle of spending money, because that way it doesn't really make sense either. And so I think that that's the biggest thing that I would like to ask my colleague, if in fact we can do something. I don't want to water down what you're talking about, but if we can do something that allows for something comprehensive that helps us, rather than have the police officers doing what they're doing. And now if we go ahead and they put somebody in the system, they'll let them out. And they do. They take 2 hours to do it, take another 2 hours, take another 2 hours to write it up. And by the time they finish writing up what they just did, these guys downtown let them out.
Commissioner, there's nothing that prevents any additional plans to be brought forward on top of this. But what basically we're being told is, by a few, is that, first of all, the way that they have characterized this ordinance is totally false. This is not criminalizing homelessness at all, whatsoever. We have laws in the city that apply to everyone, and those apparently want us to exempt homelessness from the laws that we have for all the others that live in the city. But the characterization that this is an ordinance to criminalize being homeless, it's not so at all. What I'm not willing to do any longer is to keep feeding the beast of the business of homelessness. I want to come with concrete actions that will see real solutions. And that includes truly helping people that have mental problems, have drug addiction, knowing well that the percentage that you're going to be able to truly save are not super high, but at least we have an obligation to try. What we don't have an obligation to do is provide Ritz-Carlton, Rolls-Royce services to the homeless, or frankly, to anyone. This is government. The best that we could do at times is a Volkswagen, maybe a Chevy or a Ford.
On a motorcycle.
I don't want to go into the scooters, so don't mention that. But we have put together a good foundation to keep building on. And these are the only solutions. Maybe we could do others. And I will say something that I didn't think it was the case, but I did see it out there. There has been a drop in the homelessness out in the streets. And, you know, not to the level that we're being told,
No,
but there is a drop. Now,
they're going to California.
I suspect that because we have been more vigilant
That's right.
in the cleanups and everything, we're not as welcoming as we used to be. And people from other states, other parts, are going somewhere else in Florida or where they came from. But for whatever it's worth to those in the business, I did see a drop. I mean, from what we used to have at Bayfront Park and Parade Park, Old Bicentennial Park, there's been a drop. The areas that you saw in the concentration that I showed in that video, they were even worse before, and that looked bad in what I showed.
Okay.
Anyway, I will put my motion back.
There's a motion by Commissioner Croyo. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Reyes. Is there further discussion? So I'd like to say a couple things, Commissioner Croyo.
Second with all the.
Well, he hasn't accepted your amendments yet.
No, I have.
You have.
We're
I'd like
going to
to-
include
okay.
the resolution.
With the resolution.
Yeah, with the resolution that we passed before.
It's going to provide the centers and all of that.
Mr. Chair, can I clarify that I believe the amendment should be to the SR item concerning the prohibition on encampments, that it include a section at the end to clarify that Resolution R-21-0373 adopted on September 13th, 2021, which directed the city manager to define alternate locations, be complied with pursuant to today's discussion.
All right, you got it there.
Okay.
Thank you. So seconder, motion, the mover agrees and the seconder is, to the seconder's condition. I'm not going to try to change your mind, and you may have your votes on this, but I do want to say why I disagree with you, and I think we can have that healthy debate, because I know that this comes from a place of frustration to try to solve the problem. I know you are trying to solve the problem.
We're all frustrated with it.
Yes. But I'd like to speak a little bit to the criminalization side of it and the concerns I have there, and then to the resources that are available to us that clearly you've lost trust in. Everyone and I appreciate you bringing the video. It was actually heartbreaking. It was really hard to watch because it really humanizes what people are going through. You see the fear and confusion in their eyes. You see they're not of clear mind. They're distrusting. They're nervous. They don't want to come in. But if one of those people had had a unauthorized heating element and there was a shelter bed and they refused it and they were given 2 hours to clear out of that spot, they could be subject to arrest. It is possible. And they're not of clear mind to accept what's been given to them. And hopefully through our outreach and our green shirts and our Lazarus Project, we could break through with them and convince them to come in. But it isn't an immediate thing. They're not going to look at you and immediately trust you right off the street. And that's why people that work in our program and those who we entrust from the different programs to do that outreach specialize in that. I could hear in your voice you were sincere in offering them what was being offered.
But especially with rain that seemed was coming.
Clear. And I've been out prior to a hurricane coming and offering.
Yes.
And there's a little more openness at that point, but you still see the fear and distrust in their eyes. Clearly, you've had years of experience with the shelters and organizations in our community, and the anecdote you made about from the 1970s, perhaps, with Camilla's House. I can say that I've been...
Not that far back, Chair.
Well, you said when you were a young commissioner.
Yeah, this is the 80s, not that far back.
Okay. Fair enough.
I mean, I know that some of you think that I was here when we founded Miami, but I didn't go that far back.
But I have to say this. I've been out on the census count overnight more than once. I've been to every one of the organizations that we fund together as a commission and as the CRAs. And the people like Vicki Millette, Samiria Hudson, Constance Collins, who am I forgetting? Hilda Fernandez, that was the one I was forgetting. They are the people who run Chapman, Lotus, Camillus, and the Homeless Trust. And what you're proposing that we create as a resource with the medical and the wraparound and everything, perhaps out on Virginia Key, is what they offer. They offer those wraparound services, counseling, job training, clothing, day programs, night programs, short and long-term care. But
Commissioner, this is why we're saying that we send them to shelters.
Yes.
Before we could take any action.
Absolutely.
If we don't have a place to send them to, then we don't take any action.
Right, but the previous resolution that was already passed about seeking new locations and asking Mr. Porro to find those locations. If it's Virginia Key, for example, it is so far away from the existing services that could be reaching them. And it's going to be very hard.
I don't think Virginia Key, you see, I know that we have a lot of places under the expressways and things like that we can get them there, but I think that what we're doing by keeping them all together, we are facilitating the job that they're doing. We are facilitating them and making it easier for them to reach to where they are. Because if you have to go one by one, and instead of waiting, you have a concentration, it's my opinion that we're facilitating the job, but nobody's taking away the good job that they are doing.
Well, my worry is that we're replicating what they do, but maybe not as good as they do it, because we're going to be trying to manage and seek new resources, and we're going to be feeding a new machine. But I'm not trying to
We
debate.
won't know until we try it, maybe.
Yes, I mean, I'm willing
This
to try
is
this.
but please let me finish my point, because I can see that you've lost trust in the system that exists before us, because with nearly $60 million going to an
Absolutely.
organization, and we still have the issues on the streets, I understand where you're coming from. But I have been at Chapman and watched someone, I don't know what their term is, but graduate, receive a key. They have a ceremony where they give them that key. They are getting out of shelter and into an apartment of permanent supportive housing. And it's a celebration. And it's
that
not,
can happen.
But it's not jumping the line. We're not taking that person right off the street and taking them into, they've got to go through that whole process that this person went through. And so it's just helping grow their process, the missing pieces. They've got a pipeline that is jammed. And so the shelters are full. And if we could just provide that relief valve, and Constance doesn't take a penny. This is not a paid person here who's profiting off the system. This is someone who's giving back, and this is really hard work these people do, and I don't see them as taking advantage of our dollars. If we want to watch them and make sure it's being spent efficiently and never being misused, I agree with that. But I do not agree with discontinuing or the funding that we're giving to them, because I see it being spent well.
What do you propose, sir? We leave it status quo? You propose a status quo without doing anything, or doing something where we can provide, we can facilitate
Thank you for asking. So
to all of them, facilitate the contact with the homeless, and at the same time, we are protecting our residents. I mean, that's the way I see it.
I
And that's
understand.
why I was very adamant about having a place where they will be able to receive, be able to have facilities, will be able to receive all type of support. I talked to Constance yesterday, and I told her, you see, and she said, we need to build resource centers. That's what I want to build, a resource center where they can go, you see, they can go and they can have, they can have a bed, or they can camp there, everybody could be able to go and work with them, because I believe that some of the work that has been done, it is excellent. I am a firm believer in Hermanos de la Calle, and every time I can, I will support them and I will contribute to them. They're doing an excellent job, and there are some of the guys that you're doing an excellent job. We will, because of this, it doesn't mean that we cannot work together, but we can work together and at the same time, you see, try to save or to reach those people that could be reachable, and also protect our businesses and our residents. You see? I mean, it is unfair, sir, whatever you might say. And I told Candace, we have been, you see, one thing that really has irked me, and I tried, and I'm talking about this. Listen, in 1983, I was the economist for the Overtown Park West Redevelopment Project. At the time that Camilo's house was on Park West, you see, part of my job was to relocate Camilo's house, because we knew that if we didn't relocate Camilo's house, that that area will never redevelop. And we knew it. Even if you don't like to think of like that, but people are not going to invest there, you see? And that affects our economy. And I drove, Commissioner Carollo was referring to Brother Paul. And I drove Brother Paul looking for a place all over Miami, including Little Havana. He wanted to come to Little Havana. I said, why? You want to destroy a neighborhood. He said, you're not going to get more indulgences from the Lord by destroying it. I mean, but then I decided to run for office, and I left in 85, and I left that job. But what I'm saying is I've been dealing with this problem since 1985. I used to go and volunteer in Camilo's house and serve food. I used to talk to them and do all of that. This is nothing new to me. I've been in touch and trying to help the homeless for a long time. And I know, and that's where I learned that there are different type of homeless. You see that everybody, I heard people come to this microphone and state that we have so many homeless because they have lost their job due to COVID, and they don't have a job. They are, I mean, wherever you walk in Miami, you see a sign that said help wanted. You see? It says, it reads, help wanted. You see? That's why I know that the majority of the homeless, they are not economic homeless. I mean, there might be some, and we need to help them real fast. Council does a great job with abused women. You see? But that is transitional. She gets them, she protects them, she trains them, they find a job, and they leave. And they leave, and they work. And that's an excellent job. And I help her anytime, and she knows that, okay? What we're trying to do here is different. What we're trying to do is, okay, let's get all those encampment out of the street, out of downtown Miami, out of 14th Street. Let's clean our city, and at the same time, they're going to be roaming our streets because they have not be prohibited from walking in downtown Miami and walking. That's their freedom, that's their right. You see? But let them go to a place. I mean, you want to have your tent, can have your tent here. You see? And at that place, everybody that it is providing services could go and talk and meet with them and try to get their trust and try to get them into into a treatment, if that's what they need. You see, we have, Commissioner, we have ex-homeless working, and you know that, the ambassadors in downtown Miami. You know that DDA, you did that. Remember? You did that. We can keep on doing it. There's no reason why we cannot do it. There's no reason. This does not preclude us from doing it.
I understand. Let me just finish my thought then, and then we'll close out the conversation and vote. My final concern is that some of these actions, especially under the ordinance, the camping ordinance, could be used against us as a city as a violation of civil rights if somebody refuses shelter and then they are arrested because they have a heater or they have more than 3 feet of personal belongings. And that'll start putting us backward where we were under lawsuits in Pottinger. And then it's us, we're fighting against our own homeless advocacy system where we should be arm in arm. And so my hope is to rebuild trust with whatever you've lost with the system that is meant to solve this problem for us. And continue working together. But I'm not here to convince you because I know where you're coming from, and I know you're well entrenched in that. You believe in your ordinance. I'm just explaining why I can't.
I do, and I'm also a believer that there are some out there that want to see more homeless people in our city because they have weaponized the homeless situation in our city. Last suburb, Commissioner, the police vehicle that got burned in the first day that we have problems in the streets, those pictures of that police car with a huge flame all burning up, that was a homeless person that burned that. You know where we found him a few days later? In a drug overdose in the hospital where he died. Now, maybe we all believe in coincidence, and maybe there are coincidences, but where did he get the drugs, so much drugs, to end up in such an overdose after he did something like that? Or was somebody trying to reward him for his actions in burning one of our police cars? I took time going through all the arrests that we were making through a fairly sizable part of that summer, and 7 to 8% of all the arrests that we were making were homeless people. Someone was weaponizing them against the rest of us. So this homeless situation is something that has been weaponized. When I see, and these were identified by our police officers, our police department, through the facial recognition system that we have, which is excellent. We're the only department in the state of Florida that has it. And some of these so-called advocates of homelessness that had just arrived from Venezuela 2 months before, where they had gone with the Che Guevara Bolivariana International Brigade to receive training over there. And these were the ones that when they came back, we saw them in teams of twos organizing people that first day when Bayside was looted, where they tried to enter our police station, they burned our car, and more. I get the picture of what is happening with some people. I'm not trying to throw everybody into the same pot because you have people with a lot of different reasons and ideas of why they're taking this position. But what I'm saying is that there is a radical group out there that is trying to take advantage of this situation to use the homeless situation as a weapon against us. And if they want to go to court again for ordinance that are constitutionally sound, so be it. Maybe we could go all the way to the Supreme Court this time. So finally, we could do something not just for Miami, but for the whole rest of the country.
Mr. Sheriff, can I call the chief of police in there? Come in and talk to him.
Chief Morales,
Chief Morales.
you're recognized.
Good afternoon. Manny Morales, Interim Chief of Police.
Go ahead, Commissioner Reyes.
Chief, I had witnessed driving around downtown Miami because I drive around downtown Miami, although it's not my district. I'm the chairman of the DDA, Downtown Development Authority. And I had witnessed more than once drug transactions. Drug transactions that are, very to the open eyes. I'm going to give you an instance. Miami Avenue in Flagler, right at the corner. I saw a guy that he was dressed like as if, well, he had shorts and used a baggy t-shirt, but he was very clean to be a homeless. And he was just walking, pacing the street, and I came around. And right there when I was waiting for the light, I saw him go, bent over, pick something, homeless came in, and the exchange took place. And you're going to say, well, where they got money? They panhandle, you see? And there was a transaction there. Another time, just by Miami-Dade Community College, it was at Walton campus, there was another transaction that I witnessed there at night. Can we step up I will say that I don't know what you can do. Maybe you can do undercover, take some undercover actions and or whatever you can do. But there is a big problem, a big drug problem in that population, and we have to go after the dealers. We have to go after the dealers. And I will really appreciate it if you start such as a task force or whatever it is, so they can go after the dealers. And we can stop it, because they are the ones that are feeding, you see, the habit of those people that are hooked. Okay?
Commissioner, and there's no doubt that there's the criminal elements that hide among the homeless. We've done the vast majority of the heat detail arrest. That out of the 540 homeless contacts, we've only had 21 so far since August. But the bulk of those 21s were for narcotics, and some of them were for arrest warrants that they had. So we'll definitely focus on the attention. And when we're doing narcotics, we always prioritize the sellers versus the users.
Yes.
So they take the priority of our time.
Absolutely.
We'll make a note of it too.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Carollo, just to clarify, is your motion for both SR2 and RE4?
Well, this motion was for SR2.
Okay. Mr. City Attorney, could you read that into the record, please?
Unless you all would like for me to make them all into one, I'd have no problem.
You're going to say, well, what's
We can take them separately, it's no problem.
let's take it separately.
Yeah.
Let's take it separately.
Go ahead, Barnaby.
I'm sorry, one moment. Sorry, Mr. Commissioner, Mr. Chairman. SR2 is an ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending Chapter 37 of the Code of the City of Miami, Florida as amended, titled Offenses Miscellaneous, more particularly by adding a section to prohibit encampments on public property, providing for definitions and penalties contained in a severance clause, and providing for an effective date as amended.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion passes 4-1, am I correct? 4-1, Mr. Clerk.
Did we get a new city attorney? I don't know if you got a promotion or a demotion.
Well, I want to, listen. Hey, listen, why are you sitting away from the chair? I mean, I don't know. Okay.
Well, no. But hold on. That's where the mayor used to sit all the time when he was Now you see who the real de facto mayor is.
More comfortable.
Okay.
Commissioner, now I know why the city attorney stays awake all the time, because it's a much harder chair than the ones we sit on.
Yeah.
Right? They're different. So we're going to move this one over there and this one over here. Because, makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Motion passes on SR2. Would you like to take up RE4, Commissioner?
Yeah, we could discuss RE4. Look, RE4 is very similar to what we have had for decades in the state of Florida. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here in any way. In the state of Florida, through the state, we have children and families. They use a different concept and name where instead of calling it adopt a child, they use the word foster parents. And they do pay foster parents most of the times to take care of children. Obviously, they do backgrounds to them and so on. What I'm proposing here, instead of calling it foster parents, is to adopt a homeless, that if someone wants to go the extra step in helping a homeless, and I showed some homeless people here that had recently come from foreign countries. You can see that they were well-educated people. They were not affected by any kind of drugs that you could see. So if there are people that would like to adopt the homeless, they have an extra room in their home, they want to put them in their living room, that this would facilitate it. And then we would instruct the manager to establish a procedure that after we can confirm that indeed they're helping with a homeless in their home, that we could provide through some of the monies that we have in different of the homeless groups, associations that we have, that we could provide them a certain amount as a stimulant to help with food, with utilities. I don't know how far that would take us. I don't know if it'll get us one, none, or 50 or 100 homeless that someone will step up. But it's, we won't know unless we put it out there.
I have a legal question, Mr. Min.
Yes, sir.
If the Adopt a Homeless program were to be enacted and the city were somehow starting this, and let's say out of the goodness of their heart, somebody were to want to take in someone who was homeless, who appeared to be of sound mind and not drug addicted, but let's say they did have problems and they end up attacking the person that they are staying with, that we are, is there a responsibility that the city might bear or an exposure to the city because this resident maybe is not equipped to recognize the danger that they may be in or that they've been exposed to a danger?
It's a very good question, Commissioner. What this item is a directive to the manager to create a program. We would obviously work with the manager to ensure the proper waivers and documentation is done to ensure that the city is protected to avoid any potential liability.
Okay, so maybe we have the homeowner or the resident who wants to do this sign waivers that indemnify us and keep us from being responsible. But morally, are we responsible if one of them gets hurt because they're not equipped, but out of their goodness of their heart, they're trying to do something? I again see a good intention here, but I'm very concerned about the potential consequences.
As much as we are on the scooters.
I think it's a little different. But I think there's concerns with this concept.
Yes, there is also, I mean, I don't want the city of Miami to be spending money.
Nope.
If instead of adopt, I will, I mean, want to throw something out that maybe we can find people that in the Goodwill, they could sponsor.
Well, you could call her a sponsor or
But not receiving any stipend. I mean, that they would sponsor because they want to, like, hey, people are sponsoring and there are circles here. And
Look, it's the same thing. You know, if we want to change the name, you know, it doesn't matter.
What the money will come from?
Well, whatever money we offer, first of all, is going to be a small stimulant. It would come from different places like the Homeless Trust, other places that we could go to where there are grants that we could get, and it would only be based upon whatever grants we get that we will provide, not from our general fund money.
First, we have to direct the city manager to investigate the possibility of getting grants for that.
Right, but what I'm saying is that, look, I heard some people here that I'm sure they're sincere, that they're going to want to come forward and help with this. I don't think we should hold back to see if we have any money or not. I mean, part of the resolution would be that the city would try to get grants or other funding that would not come from our general fund, and we will provide help for food and utilities to the effect of whatever we get in grants or other donations. I mean, there might be some that might want to donate money for that.
But we shouldn't.
No general fund money.
no general fund money, but we shouldn't close the door also to any good citizen that want to sponsor.
Well, exactly. If you want to use both words so that, some people will
I
feel
like
better,
sponsor more
then
better.
adopt a homeless or sponsor a homeless. I have no problem. We can use both definitions. And, I will be happy to go forward with, using both definitions and moving forward with it. But let's give it a try. Let's see how many of the people that have been saying that they want to do more can do more.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, you're recognized, Commissioner.
did we take our American Recovery money, Mr. Manager, into general fund? No? We took it some kind of way.
Yeah, we had a percentage of it that was used as a revenue loss, and then those programs, some of those programs that we created in terms of the allocation are used and then taken from the general fund.
So, but does that mean now, based on what we're talking about, we would not be able to use any of that money towards any programs that we're doing? Any programs relative to this resolution or any others?
I want to confirm eligibility, so let me see if I can get. Yeah, so the American Rescue Plan money can be used for homeless programs? It can be. So it doesn't have to come from the general fund.
Yeah. Well, I made it clear, and I think that's what Commissioner Reyes we want to see also, non-general fund money, meaning that's money that comes directly from our taxpayers in the city.
Could you come back with some potential sources? Or some
I think-
analysis of any institutions that are providing funds for this? Because I think this is going to be innovative. I haven't heard of this program in the United States. I don't know if it exists.
No.
No, I think that's embedded in the reso, that, to come back with a
Yeah, that is embedded in the resolution.
a
Come back
plan,
in.
so, I mean, obviously, if there's any financial need as part of it, it'll have to be
If there is.
incorporated. Yeah, if there is.
I am sure that there are going to be a lot of good-hearted people that were here talking about this, and some that didn't make it, that would be willing to do it without a cent for food or utilities. So, there's a motion, gentlemen.
Moved by Commissioner Carollo for RE4. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Diaz-Portillo. We didn't have a motion before, did we?
We're going to have or sponsor.
Yeah, will include adopt a homeless or sponsor a homeless. The sponsor doesn't get any money from grants.
So that's an amendment.
Yes.
Yeah, that is an amendment.
Seconder approves the amendment? All right, is there any further discussion?
And that doesn't mean that the person that adopts will get any money either. It depends if we are able to find it.
All right,
And I think we could.
no further discussion on the resolution? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion passes 4-1. That's RE4.
By the way, Mr. Clerk, did that nice fellow, Thomas Kennedy, when he was here last week, and I brought this up first as an idea, actually the last meeting, not last week, did he come up and sign up? I figured he'd be the first one.
No, sir.
Okay, all right, well, maybe, he'll come sometime.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I believe that last vote was actually 3-2. I believe Commissioner Watson voted no.
Thank you. I stand corrected. The motion passes 3-2.
Okay. Now let's,
FR1, Commissioner Diaz-Portillo.
I'm going to ask that we defer this item to the next commission meeting.
okay.
That is November 18th, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Motion to defer FR1.
Second.
You're not
Second by
ready to go?
Commissioner Reyes.
I'm always ready to go, but not just today.
Okay.
All in favor say aye.
well, I'm going to say it. I'm in a good mood today. I'm in a good mood. Let's just wait to have a conversation moving forward.
Okay?
Just a question for the manager. Where is the RFP process?
Do you really want to have the debate, Mr. Chairman?
No, I'm just curious when, like, what the timing is, because
I would take your.
If I were you, I'd take.
How are you? I would quit where you're
Take
head.
the deferment and run with it.
Take the ball, run.
Take the deferment and run with it.
Annie, we're good.
Really? Okay.
All in favor of the deferment, say aye.
Aye.
Deferral?
No.
You want to take it up today?
We will have the conversation, Commissioners, November 18th, I think. We'll be in a good place.
All right. Motion passes 4-1 or 5-0?
4-1.
4-1. He's getting me back because I 4-1'd him twice today. Or he 4-1'd me twice today.
I don't want you to feel lonely.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to PZ2, please. Is there a motion on PZ2? This is the gambling ban. And if I'm not mistaken, we're taking first and second reading today. Is that correct?
No, sir.
We're on second reading.
I believe you're on first reading.
Well, you need a motion first.
It was,
Yeah, no, but I'm looking
Okay,
to see if it's first or
This is
second.
first reading.
it was
Yes.
deferred at the last meeting.
It was deferred at the last
All
meeting.
right, I'll make the motion on first reading.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner
For
Correa,
the
seconded
pur-
by,
For the purpose
Commissioner
of
Watson.
having more discussion on it.
Of course. This is a big issue. Obviously, statewide, it's a big issue, and it affects us locally. So, we need to have a consensus to move forward, or at least a majority anyway. Yeah, for my part, I think we have gambling in the city of Miami. I think the congestion it brings is the main concern for me. I don't have a moral stance against gambling. But this basically, hopefully, will protect us if the state moves in directions that we don't agree on, or if other entities try to move into the city of Miami. It may or may not. We may get preempted regardless of what we do here today, but I think we should have our residents and our local businesses prioritized. And so, just for a clarification, Mr. City Attorney, this would not affect existing establishments in the city of Miami, correct?
That is correct. As drafted, it specifically states that, but even if it wasn't drafted away, that is the state of the law.
Thank you. So that should be very clear to Mr. Havenick that this is not a threat to his business. In fact, it even could protect him.
Well, that's Mr. Havenick problem, you see. But my problem is that out of principle, I'm not going to tie the hands of the city of Miami for whatever it is. And neither do I want to start just for the sake of having an ordinance. We're going to have ordinance prohibiting gambling or prohibiting liquor or prohibiting any other activities. I think the city of Miami, when the time comes and to make a decision, I don't like to relinquish our authority or relinquish our options like that. Even if what you said, if the state goes in any direction, you know that we have to follow what the state says. And the opposition to gambling, I don't gamble. I don't even play the lotto. And I think that I've seen it. The gambling type of gambling that affects more the low-income population is the lotto and those little machines that were in the bars. You see, those are the ones that affect the most. So it's not because I favor anything that has to do with gambling, but out of principle, I would never tie the hands of my city, never.
So you're against, I understand.
Yes.
Is there a motion from anyone? Is anyone interested in this ordinance?
Well, I just made a motion.
It's
Oh,
already
I'm sorry, you
Yes.
did make a
It's
motion.
removed
I
and
apologize.
it was second.
And
Yeah.
who was the
Seconded by
second?
Commissioner Watson.
Watson, thank you very much. I apologize. It's been a long day already. So we have a motion, we have a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Title,
Oh, it's an ordinance?
Thank you, Mr.
Please.
Chairman. It's an ordinance of the Miami
First
City
reading.
Commission. An ordinance of the Miami City Commission amending ordinance number 13114, the zoning ordinance of the city of Miami, Florida, is amended by further amending Article 1, titled Definitions, and Article 6, titled Supplemental Regulations, to prohibit gambling facilities containing a severability clause and providing for an effective date.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion passes 3-2. Thank you very much. That's first reading.
On first reading.
On first reading, correct. This will come back.
It will.
All right. All we have left, if I'm not mistaken, are 2 discussion items and the pocket items from Commissioner Watson. Commissioner Watson, do you feel PI3 was sufficiently discussed with regard to the comprehensive plan for homeless that you were requesting? It was a pocket item, but you did jump in on the other 2 items. Would you like to discuss further or consider PI3 closed?
Well, I think that like I said, it was not necessarily, don't want to see us have a singular effort, but also be perceived as taking into account other components of trying to deal with the issue. And so I think it was fairly discussed, and I'll come back and maybe put something on the table that also takes into account that comprehensive plan that Mr. Porro was talking about, as well as some other components. Because we can't expand ourselves or do something because we don't have the capacity to do it. And I think a lot of these organizations that are so-called partners in this effort, by way of the pandemic, they may not have been given some sort of financial grace. And so to create something new would duplicate versus having them already have things in place that we should probably buttress up. So I'll bring something back to help in the effort.
All right, thank you. That's PI3 fully discussed. PI2, Commissioner, Directive Minimum Housing Standards. Commissioner Watson, that was your item as well.
Yes, there is a real problem, and what happens is that when you say something, then there again, it triggers over into a whole nother avenue. There's a real problem with older facilities in the private side. When residents complain, and I wish I should have put pictures up like Commissioner Carollo, when residents complain, then you have to now take people out of those conditions. And so clearly, people should be able to come forth, say something to code. We also should be able, when they do that, be able to move in and have some sort of resources where we take them out, transition to some other locations, and move forward. Because otherwise they won't complain, and it causes a whole nother set of circumstances as a result of it. So my idea on the minimum standards for these facilities or apartments is that, in fact, maybe the building department, along with the manager, can come back with something proposed to us that will allow people to be able to call, get relief, and we now have some opportunity to assist them in transitioning out of bad living conditions. I have 3 apartments on west side on the river that I guess at some point somebody wants to tear them down. They've been vacant, and people have moved in, fixed them up. They don't pay rent to anybody. And all of a sudden, at the last minute, on short notice, they get thrown out. And so I'm looking for to the administration and the manager to come back with something that we can look at that allow residents who are living in squalid conditions to get some sort of relief when they, in fact, come forward and say something.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, you're clear on the direction? Thank you, Commissioner Watson. And your final discussion item, Commissioner Watson, is DI3 building issues. So I'll go ahead and take that now.
I guess at some point I'd like to work with, or let's see the manager. I just saw a neighbor complained, and someone was building a building, getting ready to, and they didn't have a permit. Come to find out it was a double address, but still no permit notwithstanding. And so 2 things with that. There are a couple of companies, one called Priority Holdings, and others out there building without building permits on lot lines, not setbacks, all kind of things, pulling permits for windows and building whole houses. And so we have to be vigilant about that in that process and tearing them down or whatever we need to do with them. But that's one component of it. The other component is if the police identify a house or building or something of that sort by way of illegal drug activity, vagrancy, whatever the case may be, they should not take 6, 7, 8 months for them to get a response, and it should immediately trigger some sort of process, Barnaby, some sort of process that allows for an immediate action to be taken, because in a lot of neighborhoods, maybe you guys don't have in your neighborhoods, a lot of neighborhoods, people just shy away from saying anything because nothing is done. You have to know it because you see it. And so since they see it and nobody does anything, they don't say anything, right? And so if the police says something, that should jump something in the front of the line to ensure that we either, one, tear it down, two, or whatever we can do under state law. If we can't do that, then we need to go to the state and change the law. And so that's more of a right-hand, left-hand thing, but at least procedurally, and we have a lot of processes not working for people, but procedurally, that should be something that we take a look at.
Absolutely. Jose Regalado, Assistant Director of the Building Department. Earlier today, I spoke with Interim Chief Manny Morales from now on, for all the unsafe structure meetings that we have with each of your offices that are monthly, we will have an NRO attend the meeting and increase the communication across code, fire, and police.
All right.
And we'll continue to work.
And I found out from Mr. Min, if that's something we can do on the legal side, that shortens that process as well.
Yes.
Administration, yes, sir.
All right, thanks. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And that's DI3. The final remaining item on our agenda is, Commissioner Carollo, your discussion item regarding enforcement against businesses for city code violations.
Yeah, this had to do with the item that we asked to be placed beginning in Brickell.
A little closer to the mic.
The item that we had different residents come and speak about today.
Commissioner, you actually have the representative of the residents here, the president of the BHA, and you actually have the principal of the establishment sitting together and not fighting. That's a good sign to start. I hope to see a positive outcome, because everything is about the balance between quality of life as our priority as a commission and obviously trying to have fruitful business survive in the city.
Do we have the president of that particular building of the homeowner association?
That's a good question. I mean, their building is within the BHA, so Mr. Cuesta does represent them.
Well, I don't know exactly how wide his reach is.
Understood.
I saw a lot of people, and I was surprised that came today to discuss about that particular place. Where I'd like to start is, if the manager could give me a breakdown as to exactly what has been happening there and what has the city done. You saw that there was a lot of people that were complaining, that couldn't sleep at night.
I'll let Robert sort of give you an update on the open code enforcement citations there. Some have been appealed. I know there's a couple other that haven't been adjudicated yet. And then we'll give you a current status on the TUP, the temporary use permit. And then the conversations we've had with the owner and the operator, in particular with regards to some potential corrective action, which would allow them to reinstate the TUP too. Robert, if you want.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Robert Santos Albona. I'm the Code Compliance Director. So at this point in time, and I'll give you a quick synopsis. In the past year alone, we've had 41 cases, complaints at this property, at 3 property addresses, 2 folios that encompasses the Riverside. We have at this point in time 10 violations, 3 civil citations that have been paid, and there are currently 4 that are on appeal at Circuit Court.
What are the 3 citations that have been paid, and for how?
For noise.
How much?
The process right now is $250. Okay.
Yeah.
$250 for the first citation and $500 citation thereafter. So there is no increases. So we have, yes, Commissioner, I understand.
Yeah.
And I think therein lies one of the challenges.
Absolutely, and I think you have been very keenly aware of it since you've become our code enforcement
Correct.
director.
Last time I was here, I commingled processes, and I want to make sure that I don't do that. One of the concerns that I have is that after the $500 citation, our current process, with the exception of the Wynwood bid, which is a pilot, we have nothing else. And technically, you and I have discussed about cost of business.
Yeah.
And so at this point in time, with this specific property, in addition to that, there's been a revocation of the temporary use permit. I went Monday and talked to one of the principals of this property. I also had a conversation with the second principal, where I advised that because of the revocation, at this point in time, they could not operate. There's also a revocation of the business tax receipt. So as we speak right now, unless otherwise advised by my chain of command, they are not to operate. Now, there are discussions that property owner, the business owner, that they know they're technologically savvy. They can take some corrective action to ensure that the sound is not excessive and it doesn't escape the chamber, and it doesn't, that we don't identify the noise violations. But until they do that, at this point in time, there is a revocation of the temporary use permit, and there is a revocation of the business tax receipt.
I noticed there were some people that came and spoke that are employees of the facility who were actually planning on going to work tonight. I guess Thursday's the first night of the week that it opens, so they had assumed it's open, but it's not going to be open tonight. Is that correct?
No, sir. As of last night, we posted the property and going through our due process, but the property was posted with both revocations.
Got it. So I was talking to the city attorney to understand the process once a TUP is revoked. And sometimes you don't fix things until it gets to a point of no return, right? Because that's when it's dire enough that sides come together to try to solve an issue. And I think I saw that today between the new manager that came and spoke and all the people that represented both the residents. Everyone's at their wits' end. So it's either over or it's going to get fixed. Now, is there a path through which they can reapply for the TUP, or it can be reinstated if the administration is satisfied with their
The answer to your question is
corrective action?
yes, there is a path. So after, they need to do certain due diligence and ensure the city that corrective action has been taken by way of technology, doing a number of things. And when the city, which includes zoning and us, when we are satisfied that corrective action has been taken, a TUP can be reinstated. The concern, the flip side of that is, let me take a step back. One of the things that I'm very mindful of is we're code compliance. What we want is that exactly, compliance by the businesses so that it can coexist with the residents. I am hopeful that we can find that path. But if we don't, to the outliers out there, I'd like to create a process similar with as the bid, where the scofflaws and the bad players cannot proceed under cost of business. So it's a balancing act. I am hoping that we can find one here.
Thank you. Commissioner Correa, you're recognized.
Well, I think he's explained the actions. Look, I don't know who the owners of these establishments are. In fact, I've never been to them, so I'm not quite sure where they're at. I'm reacting to, I think, the legitimate problems that so many residents there have expressed, just like I have in many other parts of our city. And this is a recurrent problem. And I think that, we kind of hit the nail on the head and the essence of it, that a lot of these establishments, what they got to pay is nothing. First time's $250, then is $500, which is, maybe one good bottle of something that they sell, and it doesn't hurt them. The party goes on. And this is what we got to change in our ordinance. And then some of them, I'm not saying these people are like that, but some others know how to play the system. And in fact, they had people within the system that would help them. And they kept, stolen the fines and so on and everything. In fact, some point next week, there was a chap in one of our districts that had, I think, a $300 fine or $500. I'd like to see if that was ever paid. And somehow I think I'm going to find that it never was paid, and everything falls through the cracks. So it's a system that is broken, that we got to fix it.
Well, the biggest teeth is revocation of their BTR or their
Well,
TUP.
yeah, and that's all that he could do now, and he certainly did it. That's why I have nothing further to say. Now, I don't want to see people shut down.
Right.
If they truly can redeem themselves and are willing to work so that they respect other people's rights too. But I don't know what the problem is exactly, why violations they might have or not. And this has been another problem that we've had, that building, other departments, everyone's been blind when it's convenient.
Well,
They don't
Commissioner,
see anything.
as I've said to you before, it is my intent to tweak the process, bringing into place the three strikes you're out resolution.
Yeah.
Where at the third, this is why we have the Wynwood bid as a pilot. Where the third time, we issue an NOV and we bring that respondent before the Code Enforcement Board. And let that respondent explain to the board why is it that they're going to be better operators. The board may decide to pull the BTR or the certificate of use. I hope we don't. I hope that we give that one opportunity, but I think that process brings teeth to our entire process and make sure that we don't have the scofflaws that are going to try to test the system. So hopefully, with that process in place, we can replicate. That, I would tell you this, we don't have any problems in identifying noise. Whether it's plainly audible, excessive, unusual, unnecessary, our staff identifies noise. The issue, the challenge is on that, after the second violation, that $500 citation, it is not a deterrent for some businesses. So hopefully with this process, we can move forward and find a better balance.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Through the chair. We cannot apply the same type of ordinance, the Wynwood ordinance. How much is, can we, taking proper legislative action? How much is they will increase the fines in Wynwood? It went to 1,000?
It's the same, no. I've been corrected. Originally, when I came here, I talked about some of the plans that I had wanted to put in place through my chain of command and the city manager. But the Wynwood pilot is $250, $500. And on the third one, we issued the NOV, which we'll bring to Code Enforcement Board. The board has the ability to issue a higher fine. This is why I talked with... And it could be up to 1,000.
It's 250,
Yes, sir.
500, 1,000.
It could be 1,000.
It could be,
Commissioner.
and then what?
The next one could be 5,000 under...
Okay. Because as you well stated,
Mm-hmm.
you see, you can be without a license, a permit or a license.
Right.
And $500, even 1,000 is the cost of doing business. You see,
Correct.
that is peanuts compared
Understood.
to what, because a bottle will sell for $200-300
Or higher in
or higher.
some
It all
places.
depends. You see, VIP section and all of that.
Mr. Chairman,
It's just it's a minimum cost.
if I can try and assist the code director. So the legislation concerning the Wynwood enhanced penalties, that is coming back on second reading, November 18th.
Yes.
As drafted, the director is correct, and again, there's ticket violations, and there's a process before the Code Enforcement Board. With ticket violations, it's $250 for the first offense, $500 for the second offense. If it goes before the Code Enforcement Board, as proposed and as passed on first reading, a first offense found by the Code Enforcement Board is punishable by up to $5,000 per day, and a code violation for a repeat violator that goes before the Code Enforcement Board.
Okay.
If it's found to be irreparable and/or irreversible, is punishable by up to $15,000 per violation. So it is increased penalties, but that is limited to the Wynwood program that the director spoke about.
We should, I don't know if should start thinking about legislation to extend that to the whole city.
For the fee structure, I wouldn't be opposed, but for the other process regarding decibels and megahertz, et cetera, I'd like to see how it works in Wynwood before applying it.
After we test the
Right.
decibels and all of that, but the fee structure should be increased, should be changed.
All right. Thank you. Is there any further discussion on this item?
Okay, I'm sorry. You have a problem with your ears?
Any further discussion on DI 2, I believe it is? No. All right, seeing none, we'll close that discussion.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
And I think I'm going home.
Is there any further business for this morning's agenda?
I have
All right, we have the Omni CRA and the Overtown CRA, which should be relatively quick, but we are now adjourned unless there's any further business. Thank you all for your advocacy and your patience and being involved. We are now adjourned for the City of Miami Commission meeting, and we will start the Omni CRA meeting. We're missing one
Can
commissioner
we take 5 minutes?
in 5 minutes,
Okay.
and hopefully we'll have a full quorum.
6:56 p.m. on 10/28/2021. I want to acknowledge the presence of board members Ken Russell, Nolo Reyes, and Chair Jeffrey Watson. I have a quorum, and we have published 4 resolutions and a discussion item. We'll now open the floor for public comment concerning only items published on the agenda. Mr. Executive Director, before we
Chair, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
We have published 4 resolutions and a discussion item. We'll now open the floor for public comment concerning only items published on the agenda.
Good evening, ladies, gentlemen. My name is Albert, and my former situation was I was a resident of Camilla's house. I'm here to advocate that homelessness, as was mentioned earlier today, varies from individual to individual. But I would also like to state that Camilla's house, along with Community Action Construction Service, has really greatly helped me in my recovery. I'm now an employee and administrator with that service, and I like to see the services continue because they help me, and I'm sure that they can help others as well. So, thank you very much.
Chair, if I could have the gentleman who just spoke come over to fill out a speaker card.
Over to.
Thank you, Chair.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Hilda Fernandez from Camilla's house. I want to congratulate, first of all, Albert, who was a graduate of our first construction trades program that we are doing in partnership with the CRA and FIU. They graduated 73% of the participants, all 100% of which are today gainfully employed in construction. We currently have 17 of our clients participating in the second cohort of construction trades, thanks again to the partnership with the SEOPW, and expect the same kind of results. We cannot make a change, we cannot move the needle unless we can provide opportunities for people to get gainfully employed with the proper training to be able to go out, earn an income, and believe it or not, many of our clients do. We are teaching construction trades at one side of our building, while on the other side of the building, Miami-Dade College's Culinary Arts Institute has clients in our 9th or 10th cohort of culinary arts, folks who will get employed with a kitchen cook certificate, a food handling certificate, immediately after they graduate. There are many opportunities for us to work with our local community. We need partners like the CRA, but we need partners in the community willing to take a chance with homeless people that are going to enter into their employment places and ask for an opportunity, having sometimes a criminal history, sometimes terrible credit. So it really is more than just provide. We need the training, obviously, to get them ready, but we need to work with businesses in our community willing to take a chance to work with us and the clients that we serve that are going through these incredibly 14-week intense programs to prepare themselves for gainful employment. Thank you.
Thank you, Hilda.
Chair, again, if I could, Ms. Fernandez, if I could have you come over here just to fill out a speaker card. Thank you.
Hilda, I've witnessed your program and congratulate you. It's a great program, and you have my support.
Thank you. And you've kept, we're right now very busy as well, Commissioner. You also got to see our homeless prevention. Our calls to our homeless prevention helpline as a result of the end of the moratorium have increased, literally have doubled in the last 2 months. And so we are very busy right now trying to help those folks, in addition to the folks that were unfortunately affected by the condemnation of buildings in your city that are being helped through our homeless prevention, the funding that you have provided.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
And Hilda, I apologize. I was trying to give you a shout out and I actually blanked out. And I apologize for not remembering you correctly.
Thank you, sir.
I think it's.
Thank you for what you do.
Yeah, Commissioner. I think it's one of those things that we talked about earlier. There are opportunities to use our partners to help us with this issue. And Camilla's House and the program, the CRA, is just one way that that's being done. Is any other members of the public have comments on the issues on the agenda? Hearing none. Mrs. Executive Director, before we move to the discussion item, would you summarize the 4 resolutions? Afterward, I would entertain a motion to move all the items.
Yes, thank you. Neil Shiver on behalf of the Southeast Overtown Parkway CRA. The first resolution is $125,000 to community awareness construction services for the construction training programs in partnership with the Camillus House. The students are given a stipend. They're given jobs with our development partners. And what we're adding on now is if they're successful in working for 6 months, we can provide or help transition them into regular housing. The second item is for $30,893.60 to Horsepower Electric. This is for rewiring and wiring upgrades for a parking lot. Apparently, there are some very skillful individuals in Overtown who actually steal copper wire out of these lightings while they are on. So what we're now going to do is retrofit these poles with aluminum wires, as well as try to put a tampered-free box to the bottom to prevent that vandalism. So that was the second. The third item is $150,000 for a limited scope of improvements to a nine-unit apartment building that is owned by the CRA. We're putting about $13,000 in each unit. These 9 units, and several of these units that are vacant, we are reserving for successful candidates from the homeless construction job training program. So we're very excited about that. And the fourth item is $136,000 to NANA. And this item, 2 of our grantees got together, NANA and Miami-Dade College Culinary Institute, and they formed a food truck enterprise program. So we're throwing $136,000 in for 20 students and a fully equipped food truck for one, if not a group of the recipients. Those are the 4 items, resolutions on the agenda, Mr. Chairman, and we're ready for board approval.
Move all 4 of them.
Second. Items have been moved and seconded. All in favor, say we're aye.
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 Agenda passed. The discussion item, is that a part or is that after the closing of the agenda? Todd? So the discussion item that was left?
Yes, is that what you're going to proceed to now?
Right.
Yes, sir. That is the only item left on your agenda.
There was a call for an audit of the Town Park North Plaza condominium site rehabilitation project, and the auditors themselves changed the scope of the work to be a review. At this point, all the funds that necessary or that was left over from what was budgeted will be moved over to the homeowners association so that they can continue in their quest to do a forensic accounting of the entire project, so they can, in effect, answer the questions of why there was a difference in gap in money based on what was funded and what was then provided at the time that those additional monies were provided. And hopefully in their efforts, they'll be able to locate, identify, and come up with some sort of relief by way of litigation or not, in their efforts to understand what happened to the gap in funding. That being said, if there's anything to discuss on that item, accept it. If not, then we'll move to close the meeting.
Mr. Chairman, let me just add a little light to that to put some clarity. The board directed the Southeast Overtown Park West to do an audit, and the board provided in one of the allocations for the development $125,000 for this audit. Clearly, we support and recognize that the audit was well needed because this project is several years overdue and several $100s over budgeted. But the audit centered on documents within the CRA, and in the CRA, the only documentation that we have is invoices and payment histories. So when you look at the invoices and the payment history, it doesn't really tell a story. All it tells is this is what they requested and this is what we paid. And so in order to get a full picture on how and why this project is so delayed and so over budgeted, right? This audit now rightfully has to switch over to the homeowners association. The way this project was authorized was the Southeast Overtown Parkway CRA gave a grant to the homeowners association, and the homeowners association in return hired the general contractor. So as such, the CRA does not have subpoena power over or rights to access any records with the general contractor. So saying that, Mr. Chairman, we thought it was best after we finished with some fact-finding accounting work that this audit properly now shifts over to homeowners association so they can then, right, since they are in privity or in contract, and they may have a right to inspect records, that the remaining funds switch up, are transferred over to the homeowners and tenants association, and that organization then need to go and do a fact-finding, a real audit to see if there were any improprieties or any monies misspent. And so that's the full story. And I just want to at least give the board and the public a full picture on what we did and what we're trying to do. So I want to thank you.
Well, but let me just say this. It wasn't a question of whether it was a real audit or not. It was a review. And there is, in fact, a difference of spending. Whether there's an agreement on what that amount is will now be taken up as relates to a full forensic audit. But there were some overspending, and it was a gap in funding. So I'm not so sure about that description, but in fact, whether or not they said it was one amount or you said it was one amount, there was money that was spent and unaccounted for based on what was paid. So I think that it's incumbent now for the board to move forward and ensure that they follow the money and understand where it went and to who it went to. And so thank you. And that ends the, I guess, discussion and presentation of the SCOPW CRA.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. We need at least 4 commissioners to take up the Omni CRA meeting. So I'm going to sit tight. If we can gather our quorum, we will get started. It's our last 2 items of the night. Good evening. Calling to order the Omni Community Redevelopment Agency special meeting of October 28th, 2021 here at City Hall. Commissioners present are Commissioner Carollo, Commissioner Diaz-Labortilla, Commissioner Watson, and myself, your chair, Ken Russell. We are now in order. We have two items before us that were brought up and deferred from a previous meeting. Item number 1 and item number 2. I'd like to open the floor for public comment at this time. If there's anyone who'd like to speak on either of these items, this is your moment, opening public comment. Seeing none, we'll close public comment and open it to the dais. Is there a motion on items 1 and 2? Moved by Commissioner Carollo, seconded by the chair. Open for discussion. Seeing none, all in favor of the items say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much for the world's shortest ever CRA meeting. I could be wrong in that. There may have been much quicker ones than that in the past. We are adjourned. Thank you.